Tiffany Perkinz. Apparently she brought a posse. I like it.
All right.
Hello,
Tiffany. Everyone.
We'll let you start out with introducing yourself. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Perkinz. I am a mom of 6, a lifelong Texan, a teacher of over 12 years of classroom experience teaching middle and high school English, and I am running to represent you on the State Board of Education, which is not the same as the local ISD. There are 15 State Board of Education members across Texas. This one represents 11 counties, but I'm right here in Jefferson County. This is my home county. But I will be traveling across 11 counties this campaign season.
Awesome. Do you want to share with us why you're seeking a position on the State Board of Education?
Yeah, because it's time to put educators back in charge of education. Because for too long, we've been seeing people who make decisions about what happens in the classroom, about the way teachers teach, and about the way students learn happen. Those decisions are being made by people who have no educational background whatsoever, other than that they were once a student. And that's not how things should work. Whenever you run for a judicial seat, you probably have some law experience. Likewise, when you run for an education seat, you should have some educational background. So, me and all the other candidates running for the State Board of Education this election season are educators.
Absolutely. What would be your highest priority if elected, Ms. Perkins?
Restoring academic rigor in such a way that has students reading again, reading full books, not just excerpts. For a long time, a lot of public schools. So I've taught in public and private school. My kids have gone to public and private school. So I've seen that in public schools, you have kids that are just reading excerpts, short works, because that's how they can pass the test, supposedly. And then in the private schools, you have kids that are reading full novels, and they're having robust classroom discussions, and they're having field trips, and they're having science experiments, hands-on learning. And that should be happening in the public schools too, because public school is meant to be the great equalizer. But instead, because public schools have to take that test and private schools don't, they're all focused on the test. And the kids are not getting the same education as their peers whose parents can afford private school.
Okay, we have an audience question that kind of piggybacks off this one. What do you think a help or a fix for reading comprehension and youth violence?
Reading comprehension and youth violence together?
Together.
Okay, so I'm going to answer them one at a time if that's okay, because I feel like those are two different. So reading comprehension, like I said before, we need to get back to students reading full novels, beginning to end. I taught as an English teacher for 12 years, middle school and high school. Probably the grade that I taught the most was 9th grade English, and one of my favorite things to do was to work through a novel with my class. It usually took a whole 6 weeks, but we started from the beginning. We would read the chapters together, or the students would read it on their own, but regardless, we're having these classroom discussions, we're talking about it, we're asking the students to put themselves in the situation of the characters, and that naturally builds comprehension. Whenever you're just reading excerpts because your objective is to pass a test, then that's not building long-term sustainable comprehension. We need to get back to students reading full books and asking questions about what they're reading. And reading what they are interested in, I think, is also huge. And the other part to that question was about youth violence. There's a lot going on in the world and with the lives of teenagers. We do have a mental health crisis. And I think that what we need is to make sure that that we prioritize having staff members who are ready to deal with those kinds of crises. Wellness coordinators, behavior interventionists, counselors who, for a lot of times in public schools, the counselors are there as test administrators because so much of their job is, again, focused on that test, when it should be focused on the mental well-beings of the students. So I think having more adult intervention early on will definitely help that mental health crisis that ultimately leads to the youth violence.
I have a question because I'll be honest, I'm a bit ignorant. Can you tell us a little bit about what the State Board of Education's role is overall, and then also what your plan would be for day one and how you'd be able to implement that?
Yeah, so great questions, because a lot of people do not know. So the State Board of Education, there are 15 members across the state of Texas. And let me back up a little bit. A lot of times when I say I'm running for the State Board of Education, people are like, okay, so you're running for your local school board. Very different. There's local ISDs, like here we have Port Neches Groves ISD. That's the governing body for that district. What is this district purchasing, the bonds, all of those things govern that local ISD. But the state board is a little different because their priorities are more focused on the curriculum, the state standards, which is if you're a teacher or if you're a parent of kids in school, you've probably heard of the phrase, the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, shorthand, the TEKS. And the TEKS are what determine what's in the textbooks. So the 15 members on the State Board of Education vote on things like the standards that are going to be taught. And those standards then get written into the textbooks. And what's really interesting about the State Board of Education in Texas is because we are such a big state and a big market, it doesn't stay in Texas. Textbook companies look to see what we're going to do first before they write their textbooks. So when standards are passed in Texas, it often leaks out into the other states. And the second part of your question was, what is my first priority? So day one, sworn into office, January 2027, I am going to make a motion to make an amendment to the TEKS that were just approved this past meeting in June. In June, there were some very controversial TEKS, Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills standards, in both English language arts and social studies. They were approved, they were controversial, but they were approved. And the reason why they're controversial is because they center one ideology. And I believe that school should be teaching students how to think, not what to think. So my first day, that first meeting, I'm going to make a motion to amend the newly approved TEKS to restore both religious neutrality and political neutrality in our curriculum. So we're teaching students how to think, not what to think.
More questions from the audience. How should the state change the A through F accountability system to measure more than just test scores?
That is a great question because it is a problem that it's all just based on test scores. And then you have what we're seeing in Beaumont, just down the highway, TEA is taking over, and TEA is taking over many, many districts left and right. And the reason why they're taking over districts is because they only need one school to be failing in order to take over. And that's based on test scores, which private schools, they don't have to take test scores. It's almost as if you're wealthy enough, you get out of the test. But what that proves is that there is a way to assess whether students are ready to graduate other than a state test, because they do it in the private schools, right? So what do they do in the private schools that could be done for all students? They do low stakes testing throughout the year, very, very small benchmark tests that are not all day long ordeals, that are not high pressure, just to see where they are at with reading and math. And they do that throughout the year, I would say about 4 times a year, quarterly. And then they trust the teachers. They trust the teachers to know, because the teachers are the experts, imagine that, right? To know this is where the student is at, and this 7th grade student is ready to go on to 8th grade. Yeah.
If you want to take like 15 seconds to wrap up, anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, so just want to remind you that on your ballot, it's going to be all the way at the bottom of the ballot. It's the State Board of Education, District 7. Just remember, it's different from the school district, the local ISD. This is the State Board. It's writing the curriculum for 5.5 million Texas students, and that is so important because education is the greatest weapon that we have to change the world, and public schools are our most essential local infrastructure that must be protected at all costs, and that's why I'm running.
Thank you so much. Okay, next up we have United States Senate, Jade Simmons and Ted Brown, if you guys would like to make your way to the stage.